News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
Top of the week to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the News First studios in Dawson Street in Clambo. And this morning we've got two guests. Just we thought we might get diverse opinion. Anyway, to discuss democracy, and is democracy in Sri Lanka merely by name, or is there democracy with substance? Let's find out. Two diverse views from Mr. Shamindra Ferdinando from the Island newspaper and Mr. Malinda Seniviratna. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, Faraz.
Shall we start off with you then, shall we? We'll start off with you. Shall we let him have a sip of his tea?
No.
Is that all right? Okay. Democracy in Sri Lanka, is it only by name, or do we have?
It depends on how you want to describe democracy, and if you want to reduce it to what happens in parliament, or if you want to say it's only about elections, then we are not having elections right now.
Yeah.
Then we might get the view that democracy is really in a bad situation here. But then democracy is also about how people behave. It is also about how constitutional amendments are tested. Their limits examined and clarity obtained, and that process is going not thanks to the executive and the legislative, but the judicial arm of the state and also the media. I think that those two entities have, along with the people, been very committed to ensuring that these principles are upheld, affirmed, and the necessary statutes be delivered eventually.
And what about you, Shamindra Ferdinand? How do you view democracy? Is it merely by name, or do we have substance?
For us, democracy, I believe, is one of the most abused words in this country by all political parties and our political leaders. Now, see, a couple of years back, we were told that once they enacted 19th Amendment to the Constitution, everything would be okay, and everything would improve. Now, today, the same people, the President included, who work so tirelessly, so hard to enact that particular piece of law, today they claim that it's the problem. The whole problem today is because of 19th Amendment. Now see, when it suits them, they are bringing legislation, new laws. I think the whole process is meant to deceive the people.
Yes,
exactly.
We have had 19 amendments of
and Malinda,
no,
and I must also tell you that, that this is the only country, I think, where defeated candidates can be accommodated in parliament through the back door. So there's no point in talking about democracy when the defeated, the people, those who had been rejected by the electorate can enter parliament.
Now, you know what, both you gentlemen have conspired, because I was going to talk to you, and it's very unfair, I was going to talk to you about all these amendments.
Right.
Now, all these amendments, we are on our 19th now, we've done 19 to the Constitution. Is that because Sri Lanka, the democracy and our legislators are so in top form that they regularly check up on their Constitution to see how really applicable it is, and therefore regularly, with alarming regularity, they keep tweaking the Constitution? Is it in the name of democracy, or is it to fulfill some personal agenda?
See, if you got to look at the amendments.
Right.
I think that at least the 17th Amendment, I think the spirit of democracy was from there, although the piece of legislation was flawed.
Yeah.
But at least the intent, you can say, was honorable.
Right.
The 6th Amendment, I think you can say it was okay.
Right.
But apart from those two, we have had 17 amendments brought in by the ruling parties at the particular time, and each and every one of them was to serve the interests, the political interests of those in power. Sometimes the president, sometimes the ruling party. So the number of amendments does not mean that we are rechecking, fine-tuning our constitution. Maybe this constitution cannot be fine-tuned, it is so flawed.
I thought that it was it was all in the name of democracy. That
It's always.
Sri Lanka's legislators are so good that they feel that we must keep a tab on this thing, and every now and then we check up and say, oh, this is a bit wrong, so we quickly do
Shamindra
that.
answered that, but Shamindra said that democracy is the most abused word. We also had transparency within the larger context, transparency, accountability, and so on, good governance. These have been turned into cuss words by Kunuharapa. To use that Sinhala word is more powerful, I think, by the practitioners, by those who actually brought this up.
Shamindra Ferdinando.
For us, you must know that when they created the national list, way back in 80s, there was this committee appointed by the then President Jaya Jayawardena. I think it was headed by Mr. Premadasa, and there the national list was meant to accommodate professionals, those who could do something for this country. But the parliament and the judiciary and the president got together and introduced a different paper, and they engineered, there was some sort of conspiracy, and ultimately they paved the way for the defeated people to enter parliament through the national list. Now in this parliament there are more than 10 defeated candidates, most of them from the SLP in parliament. So there's no point in talking about democracy, transparency and accountability when the laws are violated by the parliament, by the parliament itself. The parliament abuses everything, and according to a recent revelation made by the parliament itself, it spends
25
million per day, and the parliament meets nearly 100 days a year. Just imagine, Faraz,
the colossal cost,
massive cost to the taxpayer. Right, we are a very poor country, and
you wouldn't think we're poor if when you look at the 600 million spent on two cars.
By
two cars by
that allegation was made by the JVP. Now it's a very interesting situation, Malinda. Now see, the JVP alleged in parliament that Mr. Wickramasinghe bought two cars for 600 million, but the same party protects the UNP, right? See, it's a sort of a game. On some issues they make allegations, they fight the UNP, they make a hell of a big issue.
Integrity is not.
Yes, so but they cooperate because see now today the JP has declared war on the president, right? But the JP worked for Mr. Sirisena in 2015 period, and in 2010 the JVP, UMP, TNA and the SLMC worked together in support of General Sarath Fonseca. So in our politics, Malinda, people, you may vote for one person without realizing in the background there are various interested parties and groups and the international community.
I'm glad you talk about this because I've got a slight problem on several issues. One, I voted for a president when I thought, honestly, it was 6 years and I can shut myself up, 6 years he'll carry on, provided his health and his mental state are there, he'll carry on for 6 years. Then I find one morning that there's this move to chop his wings a little bit here and there and reduce his term. So suddenly it's become 5 years and nobody asked me, thank you very much. Or they didn't ask you or the 15 million odd people who vote out there.
But they did in their manifestos talk about not abolishing the presidency as the rhetoric, but reforming the presidency.
But the law is the law. But the law
they
is
say
the
that
law.
They got the mandate to change the law.
No, Faraz, don't forget, it was Mr. Sirisena who said he only needs 4 years, right? Then the other political parties, the parliament suggested, no, don't do that, sir. You take 5 years. So, the 19th amendment and everything that happened, the president is also responsible for this situation. You simply cannot blame the whole thing on the UNP because the president agreed, because the president, when he accepted that challenge to take on Mahinda Rajapaksa as the common candidate, he agreed to all these conditions.
But and also, as Shamindra, you pointed out in the early program, that at the time the 19th Amendment was passed, brought and passed and debated and all that, all these people who are now complaining, this is what Shamindra said, about the flaws of the 19th, celebrated the 19th Amendment, as though now all the democracy deficits have been erased. We are now a truly functioning representative democracy thanks to the 19th Amendment.
And on Newsline, we encourage you to send your questions in. As I look at it, several have come in already. Thank you so much. 0772 300 305. And I just want to let everyone know that in between all this democracy that we are discussing and trying to live, and trying to find whether democracy is in name only or in substance too, whilst all that's happening, and for years and years, Sri Lanka has been accused by various international organizations and Western powers and Eastern powers and God knows which powers, that Sri Lanka are masters at covering up. But guess what? In manner led by Dr. Shamindra Rajapaksa, the JMO, they are uncovering a mass grave, and they're doing some sterling work there. And that's the kind of information that needs to be highlighted, that Sri Lanka is actually making progress in some quarters. No matter what, Sri Lanka is in the process of uncovering. And the sooner we start uncovering the pseudo-democrats that pretend to give us great value for money, the better. Because I think that in Parliament we've got 225 people who are pseudo-democrats. They're not really Democrats at all.
Well, we did have Sarath Weerasekara not voting for the 19th Amendment.
I think he's the only person.
He's the only person, and the Speaker, of course.
Yes, but he didn't need to, did he? Because he didn't need to. There was no. I thought, doesn't the Speaker only vote when there's a statement?
Yeah, forget the Speaker, but at least one person stood up.
Yes, well, I think we need to give him a title and keep him up there. Shamindra, honestly, is it this amendment?
Like to hear that word, honestly.
Yes, that's something that's missing out there in Parliament, so we can use it. But really speaking, these amendments to the Constitution, is it really because our legislators are so keen on democracy that every now and then they sit down and say, oh, we need to tweak that here, we need to tweak that there? Is that really the reason why? Or, I mean, this 19th Amendment, who can rule with the 19th Amendment?
Faraz, when you discuss 19th Amendment, you should discuss it along with 18th, because the former President Rajapaksa, he brought in 18th Amendment for him, I mean, to pave the way for him to contest again. So there's nothing wrong in contesting again, but I think nobody should hold that office for 3 terms. Just imagine 6 6-year terms, 18 years. Faraz, you know, he won the war. People appreciate that. We honor everything, but still, I don't think any leader, any person
should rule for that long.
Should go for that long.
Never.
That's true. Barack Obama, also known as the president, isn't he? Wasn't he president?
But they have 4-year terms, no?
Yeah.
4-year terms, yeah.
They have 4-year terms. He did 2, and he made an interesting comment when he addressed the Organization of African Unity in Ethiopia. I think that was in Addis Ababa, and this is what he had to say. And soon after that, we'll go in for a break. And let's listen to President Barack Obama. It's lovely words. Then we go for a break and we come back.
But the law is the law. But the law is the law. And no one person is above the law, not even the president.
And on that note, the law is the law. Let's go for a break. Don't go away, because after all, this is Newsline.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
The law is the law, even if Barack Obama, President of the United States, said so himself, but the law is the law.
What he says is that no one is above the law.
Yeah.
But what do we do if the law is confusing, if it is unclear, and if it is contradictory? Then, where there is clarity.
Then you come with the 19th Amendment.
No, the 19th Amendment is the problem here. So, if the law is clear, if there is clarity, then it is easy to abide by it.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to ask, even ask the question who is above it, who is trying to be above it or below it or whatever, who is trying to go around. But when the 19th Amendment was made, full of holes in terms of how do you define the national government, in terms of dissolution of parliament, in terms of appointment and removal of a prime minister, in terms of the composition of the independent institutions. These were all made to serve the political interests of the architects of that piece of legislation, and everyone voted for it. Whether they read it or not is a different. Now certain people are saying that we didn't even read it, but that is their fault, and they are supposed to read it. Lawmakers are supposed to read the laws that they pass.
They paid an awful lot of money.
But so the law is the law, and no one is above the law. In terms of the 19th Amendment, it brings
It's
up
flawed, is it?
we have to bring up talk about a lot of things, and we are not yet there. We are not nowhere close to where Barack Obama is.
Yeah, Shamindra,
Faraz, I see it differently. I mean, an American president making that statement is a joke. I mean, they violate the entire world. They abuse everything.
You talk about
Right now,
Guantanamo Bay.
you take the case of Iraq on the basis of
Weapons of
false
mass destruction.
They raided, I mean, they invaded that country, they destroyed Iraq, they destroyed so many other countries. I think over 500,000 children died. I'm not sure of the figure.
That is only from lack of medical attention.
But President Obama said in the same speech, it's 48 minutes long, so unfortunately I can't show it. But we really ought to show it. And if you want the link, send us a SMS, 0772 300 305. But what President Obama said is that when there are abuses of various processes, when the universally accepted rights of people are somehow
Faraz,
interfered with, then the Americans and the rest of the world, their conscience is pricked.
But they don't have a conscience.
This issue, Malinda addressed this issue earlier in the earlier program. See, when the entire world at the Human Rights Council, when 47, the Human Rights Council comprised 47 countries, right? When all countries vote against Israel, the US stands by Israel, and the Israel armed forces, they commit human rights violations on a daily basis on the Palestinians, right?
As we are speaking,
it's happening every day, right? But the Americans protect them. So for them,
talk about conscience and pricking of conscience is hilarious. It's hilarious.
Actually,
the number of wars that the United States have taken, major wars, since 1776.
And do you think that...
I think it's a bad example for us.
Really?
That's showing Obama.
Really?
Mistake on your
part.
But
it's hypocrisy.
I think it's very important that we understand that the law is the law, because I'm looking at the bond scam, and we've had all sorts of peoples involved there. They've had conflicts of interest. The whole blessed bond is about conflict of interest. Then we have somebody's working in somebody's office. We have the Prime Minister who turns up and makes a big dance and song about it and says that, oh, I'm a serving Prime Minister and this is democracy, I've gone to court. Oh yeah, right. What about those questions that were sent to him in the form of an affidavit? The judges and the AG's department might as well have worn silk gloves there, That's the kind of thing that went on.
Not forgetting also that they dissolved Parliament when the Cope report...
That's right. That happened too, and as Shamindra is always fond of saying...
And also, all those people who, fly-by-nights or, Heenembayawala kind of people who, over the last few weeks, are getting these, heart palpitations over democracy, said absolutely nothing.
Absolutely right. And it makes me sick when I see all those cars flying in to Parliament, flying the national flag of whoever, indicating to me that the representative of that country is seated in that car and going into Parliament. I wonder where they were and what they said about the lack of provincial council elections.
I must tell you, Faraz, when we talk about constitution and the amendments, the 13th amendment is different. India forced 13 on us, on Jayajawardena. So all the other amendments, I mean, were brought in, as you said earlier.
Partisan reasons.
Yes, but 13 is different, which was forced on our country in 1987.
But the point you made about these ambassadors walking in, and I think Shamindra mentioned this in the earlier program, Pathikada, about how common people of this country are not given that.
They can go.
They can. It's okay to go, but you know, why weren't they there when every moment where democracy was brought into question, where democracy came under threat from the 9th of January 2015 onwards? Why were they silent? Who are they trying to protect here? You know, why are they so upset now, and why were they not upset then? What is the agenda here, and whose interests are they serving? So when they say we want democracy for Sri Lanka, what kind of democracy are they talking about? Where are the people of this country in their calculations, in their narrative?
See, Faraz, you must always keep in mind, after the last presidential election, after Mr. Sirisena won, at that time in Parliament, the UMP had less than 50 lawmakers. But he was made the Prime Minister.
41 to be precise.
Yes. So with Mr. Wickremesinghe 42. So with the support of all the other Tamil and Muslim, maybe maximum 50 he had, maximum. But
and we didn't
Mr.
say
Sirisena,
Speaker.
but
we didn't say Speaker Rajapaksa.
Mr. Sirisena
say, oh well, you can't be there.
Let me finish. Mr. Sirisena appointed Mr. Wickremesinghe as the Prime Minister. Nobody complained, including Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Including Chamal Rajapaksa, the Speaker.
Chamal remained as the Speaker, and he did a very good job. Because of only Chamal appointed that committee headed by D. Gunasekar, which inquired into the one scam, and he did a good job, superb job.
And now the composition of the parliamentary select committee.
Yes.
So I think you must.
I think we must acknowledge that part.
It was when Mr. Sirisena dissolved Parliament on October 26, 2018. It was the second time he dissolved it. First on June 26, 2015, to save the UNP.
But of course, also they had said that they would be going for elections after that 100 days. Remember?
Yes.
And so
they said a lot of things that they would do in the 100 days, but
they didn't do. They promised to bring in the national audit bill. They did not do that. Mr. Rajapaksa kept that, held that back for 10 years.
Now I want to say this, on the 17th of March, these dates, I don't need it prompted to tell me about these dates, it's etched in my memory. On the 17th of March 2015,
the former Prime Minister,
Ranil Wickremesinghe, the now deposed Prime Minister, came to Parliament and he made a special statement after the media had gone completely bonkers about this and started exposing it, led of course by us here at News First. And what he said, he said about James Bond and all this business. And he said that I insisted on the change of the way the bonds were awarded because there was a lot of corruption, and that's what the primary dealers say. Nearly 4 years later, he has not offered one iota of evidence that that happened. The former Prime Minister or the former Finance Minister at the time, Ravi Karunanayake, wrote as the Minister of Finance to the Auditor General and asked him to look into it, as he's entitled to. And that report, when it came back to the Finance Ministry, RK was a bit put out because that report didn't say anything about that. What they did say, and the Auditor General has always said, is that the least cost method has been in place since 1997. And it is RW who changed that system
It
by
was,
his own admission, for heaven's sake.
Faraz, it was introduced by Mr.
A.S. Jayawardena.
A great man.
And I hope that we have more people like him and more people like the Auditor General. But do you think the Auditor General will come into politics?
Anyone can.
Anyone can.
Anyone can.
What about you?
But we need, I mean, let's not limit ourselves to personalities. Let's talk about, I believe that this country is not, I mean, we are not in hell or anything. We may not be anywhere close to heaven, but I refuse to say that this is we are in hell. We have a people who are watching this. We have been very patient. We are not throwing, petrol bombs at the police or anything.
No, we're throwing mud. Let's listen to this clip, and just so that we're not throwing mud.
I insisted on a public auction because private placements have led to corruption and lack of transparency. Previously, parcels of government bonds were handed out to selected individuals on a favored basis through a system of private placement. It took place outside the normal auctions of government bonds.
That's what he said then. As I say, I didn't say it, he said it. I insisted. When you insist in this country, when the boss insists...
You're culpable.
Of course you are.
So
and isn't it a pity that the Bond Commission report only said that there was no evidence to suggest that the Honourable Prime Minister had given any instructions to Arjuna Mahendan, the Governor, to break the law.
No, he did not instruct Arjuna Mahendan to break the law, but Arjuna Mahendan very clearly said before the commission, you were there,
yes,
I was there, he said that I was carrying out instructions.
He said it under oath.
But then he doesn't have to. I mean, the evidence is there, as you pointed out. But the question of the Auditor General and who should be in Parliament and so on,
yeah,
we need to. I think there are good people in this country, and Shamindra would agree. And I think that they are doing what they feel is best at this moment by watching this and not getting caught up in this stupid, chaotic fight between among politicians. They are watching very patiently, and I believe that maybe in the future we will have a different kind of politics, a different kind of people, because right now I think a demand has been created, and it's being acknowledged that we need to find a different way of doing things with a different set of people, not these 225 people in Parliament or the parties that they represent.
Sometimes, Malinda, I feel that the political parties in Parliament, they deliberately create chaos. It sort of advantages to them, right? Because every day
they get some publicity.
They get some coverage. So even bad publicity
is publicity.
So they get coverage. Now see, you take the joint opposition. The joint opposition alleges Mr. Wickramasinghe and the UNP used temper trees, abused temper trees, that they have no right to be there after October.
And then we should send him a bill.
But that party, we see all sort of people having press conferences at the Prime Minister's office. They have no right. I mean, Portua has no right to have press conferences there. Now, I raised the issue with Bandula Gunawardena yesterday, and he denied ever addressing the media there, but he was there. And he was
there you go, a lopsided democracy then. Is that the final conclusion of this morning's program?
Democracy is like truth is a process.
Democracy is also
a process, and we are seeing that certain pieces of legislation are being tested, their limits are being examined, and hopefully it will change for the better. We have come a long way.
And we've still got a long way to go. But Newsline has come to an end. Shamindra Ferdinando, Malinda Thediratna, thank you so much, gentlemen. And yes, democracy is a process indeed, and it's a long battle. But News First, we appeal to the people because we know that we reflect your principles, your values, and no matter what, these people in power and who aim for power they had better face the fact. Team News First, you kind of have to get used to us because we're going to continue doing what we do best. Search for the truth, because that reflects what the people want. On that note, thank you very much for watching Newsline. Take care, have a great week, and God bless.
News First, Newsline with Faraz.